Join us for the Essential Wrestling Podcast, episode number 59. Ladies and gentlemen, don't touch that dial. I totally misread the note I had from Karl. He said, Ryan, open the show with episode 59. I thought he said, Ryan, be Dark Order member 59. Totally confused by that. So, welcome to the show. As you can see, we're starting things a little differently today. We've got Gary Mehaffy on the show right at the very, very beginning. Gary, how are you?
Not too bad. It's obviously it's going to be one of these things where we'll peak. It'll be like Raw. The ratings will go down the more we go. There'll be so many people joining now. It's going to be like.
Well, I thought we could start strong, and then maybe by the time we get to the third hour, maybe Anyway, we'll get all the people while they've got energy and they're excited, and we'll try to hold on to them. So, Karl's not here this week. His Wi-Fi was garbage last week, so he's getting that sorted out. That's not true. He's doing some stepdad stuff. You see, he's got the Fudgy the Whale cake here that he got over the weekend. So he's absent from us for this tonight's show. So you'll have to deal with me instead. This is the 59th episode of the Essential Wrestling Podcast. We have the tag team of John Smith and John DeConnie. They'll be coming on a bit later to talk about NXT and all that stuff. But we do have a jam-packed show. All our picks today are going to be presented and sponsored by ProWrestlingPick'em.com. and the stats and graphics by minutestobelltime.com. We're going to main event tonight's show with our preparations for Money in the Bank, but we were also going to talk about Hell in the Cell. The NXT tag team division's getting interesting. Tommy Dreamer lays down the law at Impact. We finally have a king we can be proud of on SmackDown, but we curtain jerk the show in a strange way. We hop the Atlantic and start our proceedings with Gary. And Gary, there are so many questions going on in my head about what's happening over in the UK. We've got three tough guys having a nice chat on NXT UK. Noam Dar, he's not even stirring the pot on the Supernova session. Mark Coffey is using a Jedi mind trick. And if that's not enough, we've got Dewdrop and Nikki Cross. What's going on over there, Gary?
Other than that, there's not much been going on this week at all in the land of NXT UK. I know it's like one thing after another.
James Wheeler chiming in saying, Ryan looks good in the Dark Order mask.
That's what I was saying to him, James. It's the best he's looked all year, to be fair, but it's like...
Fair enough. Well, Gary, we do have to talk about all those things, but why don't we start with the Wolfgang and Sam Gradwell having a match to kick off NXT UK last week. Wolfie got a win.
It shocked me. I'd said that to Al last week. I did think that this was going to be part of a thing of Sam Gradwell beating them and then trying to move and fight, go to the mark, coffee and stuff. But because Sam Gradwell, as much as when he appeared back on TV last year, I thought, honestly, I have completely changed my mind on him. Has come through. As if he would stop calling people a yogurt, it would be all right. That annoys me. Really does annoy me. But to be fair, but honestly, I was surprised. I mean, it's good for Wolfgang, but I did think that Sam Gradwell could have done with the win, just as a wee sort of nod to the fact that they appreciate everything he's done in the last 6 months. But
yeah, I thought going into this match that they were going to sort of flip the roles of Wolfgang and Gradwell, and that Wolfie would be losing tons of matches going forward. But Spear, he gets the win and he moves forward. But Gallus was all over the show, and I mentioned before. Mark Coffey, he picked a fight with Shaw Samuels. He used a little Jedi mind trick, and Shaw went to go see if he can get the match made. Now, they didn't announce that match, but let's pretend they did. So that match comes up this week. What do you think?
I think if that comes up, again, I'm tempted to go on that one. I would have said that Mark Coffey would take it or whatever, just because I think that's Shaw's role almost of being somebody who's putting people over at this point. Although in saying that, I picked it wrong last week, so dear knows what will happen. But anything I say, it's like doing the pro wrestling pick'em sites. When Al goes, you can see what we've all picked. It's like, you see what Gary's picked and choose the opposite. But But again, but I think it should be a good match actually. When they do it, I've been impressed with Shah. Obviously, he's got himself into pretty much the best shape of his career, to be honest about it. And it's nice to see him get a wee bit of a run here. So
yeah, and on the other side, we really haven't seen that many singles matches out of Mark Coffey. He's mainly just done the tag matches with Wolfie. He was not part of the original tournament, even like his brother was. So. Then we have 3 of the toughest guys in NXT UK just sitting around, chatting, having a drink, asking them, what's going on, how are you doing, type of thing. They all got a match next week. Rampage Brown, Ilya Dragunov, and Joe Coffey. An interesting table for 3 episode on NXT UK.
Yeah, I mean, and I would say I have like the way I do like the way they're shot and stuff, and they're really really well edited and brought together and done and so on. And it was a nice little break from the norm of usually have 2 people, particularly on Raw or SmackDown, and they're going to shout at each other and throw the table over and do this. But it was, as you say, it was kind of one of those, like, you're 3 big boys, somebody do something here, and it was all a wee bit sort of just too nice. But
yeah, I don't think it'll turn out that way when they have their match next week. Though.
No,
this week actually.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of tough to pick this match though, because and I have the graphic here. Dragunov is undefeated this year.
Yeah,
both guys have lost. The other 2 guys have lost matches, but Rampage Brown, he has 2 losses. One to Joe Coffey, the other one's to Walter. So you can't fault him there at all. And then Joe Coffey, his loss is to Rampage Brown. So now you got Dragunov in there with no losses. So I don't know what to say about that match.
I know. I mean, I couldn't even. I was looking at it whenever I realized that's where they were going. I was sort of hoping they wouldn't, and that we'd move maybe towards somewhere else. But when you see the 3 of them, I can't actually. It is a sort of pick 'em. It's one of those. Where do you go? Where do you not? Or do they have some sort of schmoes that something happens and Walter comes back out again and talks to somebody and decides? So I don't know. If I was a betting man, I would go Joe Coffey would be my pick. I think he's the sort of one. Dragunov, I think, could afford the loss better, unless they want to change the title. If they're going to change the title, I do think then it would be Rampage who'll win the triple threat, to be honest about it. But I would say go to Joe Coffey, have the hard-hitting match, and then see we go after that. But
yeah, it is tough. I mean, you have all 3 of these guys. You sort of have recent matches with Walter. Dragunov is the one that's really memorable, but he's had, he has been knocked down a bit, but that's been the whole story. And then he's got this big streak. He's on 6-0, and I don't know if I got a feeling he's going to take this one and he's going to continue his rise, and then he'll get another match with Walter. And I think as it stands right now, if I had to pick somebody to take the title, it is either Rampage Brown or Dragunov.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more than happy to watch Dragunov and Walter again. I mean, I love the first one. If they have another match remotely close to like what the first one was, it would be great. So
I know you and John Smith don't usually get along on things, but John Smith always says that it's going to be Finn Balor who's going to take down Walter.
I do think that if obviously they were due to have like an NXT UK takeover Dublin type thing now, there we are.
2 days ago, yes.
If we'd had that, I do honestly think that Finn Balor would have been the one for that had the great home conquering hero would have come home, beaten him, taken it, and they'd have had him kind of to try and spearhead the brand, and again do similar to what Walter's doing, go back and forward because he's got name recognition. But if that's not going to happen, because there was talk of moving it back to the summer and moving it back to October, and I don't know what will happen over here, to be honest about it, for that one. But so I don't know if plans will change for that, but we'll see.
Yeah, and no matter how this particular 3-way match goes, I have a feeling that if one of these guys is the next NXT UK champion, or if maybe there's a transition champion in between, this match is important to set up whatever comes after, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole lot of talk at one point, obviously, of Harry Smith actually coming across.
Yeah.
and then obviously the travel ban and so on kind of curtailed that a bit. So you're still in the background of him that I haven't heard. I mean, I don't know anything. I've never spoken to Jo. Well, we've messaged, talked a few times about it, and she's like, "Oh, have you heard something?" Like being funny, but I don't know what will happen with him coming across, or whatever, or whether that ship is maybe sailed for now, but I'm not sure.
Well, we're all waiting. We're all waiting, Harry. So maybe when that Icon doc drops for Davey Boy Smith Jr., that'll be a good time to debut Harry wherever he's going to debut. All right. Well, getting back into the show from last week, Kenny Williams gets a win over Danny Jones. Kenny Williams. It's funny, like I think before he had somewhat of a character, and now he's got like this clean-shaven face, and he's got the short tights. It's kind of he's gone to no personality almost. He's a little bit angrier person, but
I didn't get when they did the little video the other week. Oh, here's him shaving his beard. I actually went, no, it gives you an edge. Don't shave the beard, and you kind of come off and you go, oh, like this clean cut, like 22-year-old Chris Jericho type sort of run about, except in the shorts, like going, hey, and you're going, no. So hopefully somebody's had a word with him and went, yeah, no, just grow the beard back.
Well, based on how clean shaven he was and everything, I think it might take him 3-4 years to get that beard back to where it was before. So,
I mean, great wrestler, and I've seen him live. I've been at shows that he's at, and he is an absolutely fantastic wrestler. And there was talk of him having an opportunity on the main NXT roster. I don't see it, particularly actually looking like this. I really don't see it.
Yeah.
Before he had, as you say, he had that look and that edge. You could have gone across and done something, but not quite now. So I don't know whose idea it was, but it was the wrong idea. But
so now we have to compare notes, because I've looked through my closet a whole bunch. I've been pulling out shirts here and there. In my closet, I've got changed sizes over the years. I've got medium, large, extra large, double XL. I've got all those. Nowhere can I find in the stores, in my closet, anywhere can I find an extra medium.
No extra medium. I know.
That is what Jordan Devlin got on the Supernova sessions.
I laughed. That's like there's always a few wee lines in the middle of it that I'll laugh at. But when he said that about the extra medium, I just sat laughing on the settee. It was very, very funny.
Yeah, I had to pause the video because I was afraid I was going to miss some stuff. I busted a gut there. But they had, again, earlier in the show, you've got these three big tough guys sitting around a table having a nice cordial conversation. Surely we're not going to get that on the Supernova sessions. That always leads to an angle or something. No, not here. Very cordial discussion between Noam and Jordan Devlin about life and, everything. So no matches came out of that.
No, I know, because I was thinking that. I was thinking you've got two bad guys, two heels here, and you're going, what's going to happen? Will he be a little sarcastic? Will he not? And it's like, no, I mean, a wee bit sort of uppity, but nothing. They weren't doing it to purposely antagonize each other. It really was like, hey, we're both brilliant. America sucks. We're back here. Let's just go on. You're like, yeah, that's right. You both know America sucks. If you're given the choice, you'd be over there making your money now, but that's besides the point. But say it's good to see. You do know. Every time there's a Supernova session, it's going to be a backdrop for something coming. It's never just a waste. And saying Noam Dar is just phenomenal. It really is. I bow to Karl's greater judgment. He said that from the start, and I wasn't sold on him, but now I'm like complete cornerstone.
Well, in a way, it did kind of lead to something, because Jordan Devlin, he came back, he made all these demands that he was going to get his own locker room and all this stuff. And so he goes out for the Supernova sessions, and we get a clip later on of Jordan Devlin rolling back through, going back to his locker room, and he finds a kid there.
Yeah.
And Egghead doesn't leave. Jordan Devlin has to go tell on him. It's like, so obviously we got a match down the road between those two. So, and Nathan Frazier continues his winning ways. He got a win over Rohan Raja.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, as I say, Nathan Frazier's great, like apart from the name, but that's besides the point. absolutely fantastic, and they're allowing him to show a little bit more and more every time of what he could do and what everybody had heard that he could do. I was surprised that, again, I know Rohan Raj has had the 2 matches, and with a little bit of fanfare of him coming in, has done a whole lot of nothing. But at the same time, Nathan Fraser, of the 2 of them, is the person that you should be looking to build behind and get a bit of momentum for. So definitely, the more Nathan Fraser on the TV is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, main event of the show last week was Flash Morgan Webster and Danny Luna versus Joseph Connors and Ginny. And I'm sorry to say, your girl didn't get a win.
I was devastated. I cried. I've never been so despondent. No, I mean, it was great. And actually, I have to be honest, I know that for a lot of people, like for people who would go to PWG and stuff in America, like Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews and stuff had been across, and a lot of people, they are very underrated and they're great. And I think it's a good move for Danny Luna joining them. But I honestly, watching their entrance and watching the video and watching the way it happens, I looked at it and went, they're going to end up on NXT doing this. I think that they're just trying to get them to hone this down before they move them across. I really think they'll get the next shot. Like, obviously, we've had the Grizzled Young Veterans gone across, and I think that these 3 will have a chance. And for Danny Luna, it's a good thing. I mean, they had a good enough match, and we said before, Joseph. I mean, Jenny's, she's okay, and Joseph Connors is great. I haven't seen him live. It's only when you see him live you realise actually just how good he is. But say the other 2, I think for Subculture. This is it's going to be a big year, big 12 months, I think, for them.
Well, you brought up a good point about them going over across, and if they can go over there and have a match with MSK, take my money, right? And Danny Luna, she should just strap herself to that rocket, right? I mean, she should stay on board with that. Well, we do have one more match for next week, and I don't know if there's much to say about it, but Teoman versus Oliver Carter. I'm going to go ahead and pick Teoman. How about you?
I think he could be right there. Although, I mean, the interesting thing with all the things like, oh, they're not family, it's not family stuff. I'm like, there's something going on somewhere. They obviously have a little bit of a plan, something to do with Teoman. And again, he came in with a lot of fanfare, hasn't shown a lot of what everybody thought about him as Lucky Kid or whatever. And I think that will come. But as you say, I would be shocked if he won it.
Right.
If he didn't win, sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, one more question, maybe 2. Dewdrop. What's going on with this Dewdrop?
I do wonder. I think they've obviously breaking them up very quickly, or it looks as if they're heading down that route. But and I think we're going to get the "I'm not Dewdrop, I'm Piper Niven," and if she does that, great.
The commentators instantly recall who Piper Niven is.
Yeah, it's like so. I think, and then I'm just waiting. I was actually waiting on when it happened. I'm waiting on Eva Marie to say something, and then Jack Stars to run out and go, "No, I'm here, I'm here," just to rekindle that. but no. I mean, I'm glad that Piper's across and having the chance to do that, and hopefully they'll allow her the opportunity to really show what she can do. So
yeah, and Jack Stars is quite lost without Piper because now he's just giving up title shots. He doesn't. No, I haven't quite earned that yet. So,
yeah.
So, well, if you, the guys, John and I looked up Dewdrop before the show just to see what it was, and here is the definition on Urban Dictionary. It's the rebranded Piper Niven. There you go.
I mean, there was somebody who was there were a couple of people I was talking to who were worried that they were going to pronounce it Dewdrop and make it a play on words because she's a bigger girl or whatever, which would have been a disgrace if they'd done it. Yeah. And I do I had the thought in I could imagine Vince McMahon being like, "Oh, this is hilarious," and you're like, "No."
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't go down any of that route, but. I would love to see her being given a chance. We've known over here for the last good few years how great she is, and she really can connect with an audience well. And I think if there were, when the fans are back, they honestly, if they give her a chance, she'll connect really well. So,
I think you're right. the fans will respond well to her for sure. Yeah. So, all right, Gary, any words for John Smith before I bring him in here? You get the platform you don't have to listen to his comebacks. So,
No, I mean, I know. And I was just glad to see that when you said about that if Subculture went across, they'd get a match with MSK, because obviously nobody would want to be in the ring with anybody from Legato, so Del Fantasma. So we don't want any of that nonsense. But no, I wish you all the very best. Have a lovely time speaking to the nice John and John Smith. So.
All right, Gary. Well, thank you very much. We'll bid you adieu and bring in the guys. So
see you later.
See you later. All right, John Smith is on.
Blah blah blah. You know what? I can't even understand a word he says.
You need a translator? Maybe we can get Dewdrop on the show to do some translation.
Maybe.
Well, we jumped from one NXT show to another. We'll go to stateside NXT, and it was super newsworthy last week. Lots of cool stuff happened. John DeConnie, the main story from last week, the main thing we need to talk about is the return of Samoa Joe.
Yeah, we kicked off the show right away with GM Regal, Commissioner Regal, coming out and giving this borderline tearful, heartfelt, what sounded an awful lot like a goodbye. It then got interrupted by Cross and Scarlett, who were basically out there to, I guess, cement himself as a heel and kind of stick it in Regal's eye and say, like, I want you to say it. I'm the reason you're leaving. I'm pushing you out. I've done it. I have conquered you, the authority figure. And that's when we get the very familiar Samoa Joe music, and Joe makes his way down to ringside.
Joe.
So he jumps in and, basically says to Regal, like, oh, yeah, you wanted to talk to me? And Regal's like, well, not exactly right here, but okay. Yeah, basically, I want you to take over. And Samoa Joe thinks about it for about a half a second and says, absolutely not. But I will stick around to make sure you get the respect you deserve. And I think a lot of people were very happy with that, because no one wanted to see Regal go. It looked like it was coming, but we get the best of both worlds. Joe gets to stick around, and but Regal did have some ground rules. Joe is not a competitor, and he's not allowed to touch any of the competitors unless provoked, which of course immediately sparked a conversation in our watch-along thread of, all right, well, what exactly does it take to consider him provoked? Well, we got our answer about 15 minutes later when, after the first match, we cut backstage. Regal and a half dozen referees are once again trying to pull Cole and O'Reilly apart. Samoa Joe lends a hand and gets shoved by Adam Cole. And Adam Cole almost immediately goes to sleep because Joe had been provoked. So that's what we've got. We've got Samoa Joe as the in-house muscle to make sure that everyone properly respects Mr. Regal.
Yeah, and we had little snippets with Pete Dunne and little snippets with Johnny Gargano, and of course the stare down with Karrion Kross. Joe is back. John Smith, anything to add on the Samoa Joe subject?
I'm just hoping that it leads to him getting back in the ring eventually, and it's not a transition of him becoming the GM after a little while,
Nobody wants Samoa Joe behind a desk.
Yeah, I don't think he'd spend too much time behind that desk, though.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, John Smith, there was another segment on the show that was not wrestling per se, but also kind of a highlight of the night, and that was all around the $1 Million Championship.
Yeah, we got a nice little video package of LA Knight beforehand, and then he shows up in his nice white Corvette, which is a very pretty car in my opinion. He comes out to the ring. He gives this long speech to Ted DiBiase about, another heartfelt speech, just like William Regal, 2-in-1 show, kind of weird. But yeah, he gives this whole speech about how he used to play with the wrestling buddies as a kid, and he's always looked up to him, and blah blah blah. Then DiBiase presents him with the belt officially, and he says that now that he's got everything he's ever wanted, he's got to drop the dead weight, and he punches DiBiase right in the face. And he's about to leave the ring, and he comes back and starts stomping on him until our boy Cameron Grimes runs out and makes the save. But it's a successful face turn for Cameron Grimes, and I think that LA Knight with this title is it's gonna be good.
Our buddy James Wheeler is wondering if DiBiase will give Cameron Grimes a second chance by the time Great American Bash rolls around. Are we going to see $1 million championship match?
I could see them doing that. I don't know about a DiBiase swerve on Grimes because LA Knight. DiBiase would have to have some pretty small cojones to go to team up with LA Knight after the beating that he received from him.
Oh no, I think James Wheeler is saying that DiBiase is going to give Cameron Grimes a second chance.
Right, but then I think he also said that there would be a swerve where he goes back to LA Knight. That's what I thought I read, but yeah. Oh, I see. After the betrayal. Okay, I got you. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, I could see them doing this. I don't know if it's a good idea for them right away to put the belt right on the line. I mean, there's nothing that says that LA Knight has to ever defend it in the first place.
Right. Yeah. He certainly one of the biggest mysteries is pertaining to diamonds that are all over that championship belt. Travis brought up on the show this morning that perhaps the diamond mine is where they procure the diamonds for the $1 million championship. But John DeConnie, any thoughts on this diamond mine tonight that we're supposed to be learning about?
Obviously it's some kind of MMA gimmick, and my only wild guess from the very beginning was right about the time we started seeing these vignettes was right around the time that the talk started with MLW. The rumor was dropped about MLW possibly being in talks with WWE in some capacity. So unless they're going to bring over, Team Filthy and have some kind of MMA clan come in and start wiping people out, other than that, I'd just be throwing darts at a dartboard.
Man, if that happens, though, John Smith, we have a full-blown story for tomorrow morning's Daily Wrestling News Show. So,
yeah, I can't think of anything. I hope it's not a repackage of somebody. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, me too. Well, John DeConnie, we had a bunch of tag matches on the show last week. We had Breezango getting a win over Imperium. That's a little bit of revenge there. We had Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez getting a win over Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. And then the main event, we had Ciampa and Thatcher getting their win over GYV.
Yeah, and this one was entertaining before even the introductions, as we saw. We saw Ciampa and Thatcher start to make their way out. And they pass by MSK backstage. And they kind of, all four kind of eye each other. And then, Thatcher steals Carter's popcorn. And, we get a little chuckle before they even hit the ring. And then their patience, I pretty much ran out right there at that point because they were already in the ring, Ciampa and Thatcher. And as GYV are making their entrance, Gibson grabs the mic. And before he says the second word, Ciampa and Thatcher race up the short ramp and attack them right there, and away we go. And now I don't want to see them abuse this. I don't want to see them necessarily turn the whole tag division into this because it would take away from how special it was. But I hope that they revisit this whole tornado tag idea. Maybe we get one match a month, one every other month, because this match was so much damn fun. I mean, they went nuts for, about 17 minutes. And, what's the best part of every tag match is usually how they use that 5 to 10 seconds in between tags to double team each other.
Right.
Well, that's what you had almost the entire match here. You had Ciampa hit an avalanche air raid crash on Drake after, a little bit of double teaming there. Then GYV used a suicide dive to complete a doomsday device on Ciampa to the floor. Then you had Ciampa hit another air raid crash on Gibson on the announce table, which kind of took him out so they could get back in the ring, hit the two-man fairy tale ending, and then transition into Ciampa grabbing a Fujiwara armbar, Thatcher going for the ankle lock combo, and Drake had nothing to do but tap out. And just So much fun. I mean, it was 17 minutes of nonstop action.
Yeah, and MSK was eating their popcorn throughout the entire match, I'm sure, except for what Thatcher stole. But I guess we are probably going to be chewing on some popcorn when it comes time for Great American Bash, because I got to assume it's going to be Ciampa and Thatcher versus MSK down the road. No matches announced now, but with Great American Bash coming up, that seems like a good Bash opener.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, you put any of the tag teams in there, they're gonna start the show hot, and that definitely sounds like an interesting pairing.
And I mentioned, speaking of the tag title matches and stuff, I mentioned Dakota and Raquel. That looks like they're kind of trying to position themselves for a tag team title match. But also on the show last week, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell actually attacked Io Shirai, who was then bailed out by Zoe Stark. So it kind of feels like there's a tag team angle going there. So the whole tag team division on NXT, I don't know what's going on. Men, women, everywhere. It's cats and dogs everywhere. But John DeConnie, you talked about Mr. Samoa Joe choking out Adam Cole, and that was all in the whole setup of our Great American Bash of Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly match. But John Smith, before we get there, both Cole and O'Reilly need to have matches on this week's NXT, and we're going to start with this match, Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly. This is a main event at any point, I think, and here we are having it on NXT regular television tonight. Who do you got?
Yeah, this one's pretty tough to call because it is non-title. Typically the champion loses those, but I think Kushida comes out with the win, but it's because Adam Cole gets involved, and Kushida might not even realize it. A little something happens while Kushida's knocked out from one of the moves that Kyle does or something.
Sure. John DeConnie, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not sure we even get a finish here for exactly the reason John Smith said. I think Cole probably gets involved at some point, and maybe it causes a DQ. Maybe he takes a shot at O'Reilly, and Kushida winds up winning. But I think if we were picking this for the EWP or for the PWP, I might actually pick no contest because I got a feeling this one's just not going to have an ending.
I'm going to pick O'Reilly here, and I've got kind of a long-term thought here of O'Reilly getting a win over the Cruiserweight Championship, and NXT maybe wanting to try to elevate that Cruiserweight Championship some more so that we have a title match between these two down the road. And maybe I'll tell you what, if that title is starting to get defended between the Coles and the O'Reillys and the Dunns and the Garganos, that title is way more important. So that's where I'm going to put my pick for this one. But Adam Cole also in action this week. John DeConnie, I'll go back to you. Any thoughts on who Adam Cole's wrestling? He needs a win, obviously, as you can see by his record, 0-3 this year.
Yeah.
Not great for Mr. Cole.
Yeah, well, O'Reilly went to Kushida because he wants to push himself to face the very best. And I think it is not going to be a surprise that Adam Cole is going to do quite the opposite. He's going to give himself what he considers and may even actually call a bit of a warm-up match. So, not being the expert on NXT that John Smith is, I'm going to go the easy way and just say he pulls Leon Ruff's card.
John Smith, who's it going to be?
Yeah, Leon Ruff is who I had mentioned last week on your podcast, and I haven't really thought of anybody else. Maybe he pulls somebody up like that's also like on 205 Live, like an August Gray. I think we mentioned that too.
Yeah, it could be anybody. I don't know. It's probably not going to be, to John DeConnie and your point last week, it's probably not going to be Pete Dunne. It's probably not going to be Karrion Kross. It's going to be a little bit of an easier go, I think, for sure. So, also in action, I guess, is Frankie Monet on this episode of NXT. She's 1-0, and this is her encore presentation of her global premiere. 1-0 in NXT. She lost a couple matches on Impact that we don't talk about because she had a different name at that point. But John Smith, your thoughts on Frankie Monet's global premiere part 2?
I don't know what they're going to do as far as like the angle that she's pulling with, trying to get in between with the Robert Stone brand and stuff. But I'm thinking that she'll probably face one of those two.
Ah, yeah.
And I got her winning, no matter who it is.
John DeConi, if you're going to pick between Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea, you got a favorite.
I'd say she probably goes after Aaliyah because Kamea is the one of much taller stature, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd have her probably facing Aaliyah.
Absolutely. And John Smith, one more match that we probably should talk about, and it was not advertised, to be fair, but you are wearing the shirt of Everrise, who is picking a fight with Hit Row. So if we get Everrise versus Hit Row tonight, how's this match go?
I got top dollar squishing both of them.
5 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a real quick match. It might be all about the promos before and the beat up after. It might be like just a minute and a half or something.
John DeConi, it sounds like I might not have to put myself through a picture-in-picture break during this match.
I would think not. If you're setting the bar at 5 minutes, I'm taking the under. Bet the house on it.
All right. Well, guys, did we leave anything out in the world of NXT? Because we got to move on here to Impact next.
Yeah, I think we covered it all.
Yeah, not that I could think of.
All right. Well, Impact was a fun show last week. They certainly had some news items come out. But we'll start with the show opener, John DeConi, TJP and Black Taurus.
Yeah, it's almost a shame that Taurus came in and was such a hot start. And not that losing to TJP is ever, a shameful thing, but he's taken he's eaten a lot of L's recently. So he took the Mamba Splash, under 6.5 minutes. And then that's when Moose attacked, took over the ring, blah, blah, blah. But it led to later on backstage where Decay would kind of cross paths with TJP and Fala again. They were all outside Scott's door, I don't know, banging on it for some reason. And Fala proposed the match between himself and Crazy Steve because they wanted to make a clean sweep of the Decay Boys. So it's not, it's not definitive for this week, but you would think that probably makes the card.
Yeah, absolutely. And James Wheeler chiming in, paying attention to what's happening out there in the world, congratulating Havoc and Sami Callihan on their engagement. If you only know them as characters, that just blew your mind. But they are engaged now, and we'll be talking about Sami Callihan again in a minute, so hold your thoughts on him. But John Smith, we had the Knockouts division. Rachel Ellering, Jordan Grace, they're not getting on too well, and Rachel had a match with Tenille Dashwood.
Yeah, it was your standard Tenille match because Tenille never loses. It seems like at this point, she's I'm sure she's got a couple losses, in Impact since she's gotten there, but not too many. And she what she hit her with the Raw roll up. Well, yeah, Caleb. Oh yeah, the crucifix roll up, not a straight up Raw roll up. With the help of Caleb with a K, and Rachel Ellering was not happy about that.
Okay, so if let's just say any of these brands signs Pineapple Pete, we're calling it the fruit roll up, right? Like that's going to be what he does.
100%.
Okay. All right, John DeConi. Steve Macklin, he looks awfully familiar and made his debut on Impact this past week.
Yes, Steve Macklin, soon to be a show favorite as he was billed from Rutherford, New Jersey. The former Steve Cutler defeated In Action, a.k.a. Mr. Jason Page, and he used kind of a sit-out version of Goldust's old curtain call where he kind of, gripped for kind of an inverted DDT, lift and fall forward, but he did a sit out. It was a sub 2-minute match. All it did was make Macklin look pretty good. And let's see where he goes from here. I'm not sure where he fits in on this roster, but with the world title not in the picture, I'm not sure where anyone fits into this roster at this point.
All I can say is that I really hope we stop getting wrestlers with the last name Page, because my database is going to explode because I have a Adam Page, an Ethan Page, a Dallas Page, and now I got a Jason Page in there. So at least spell it different for me or something.
See, now this is where sometimes WWE changes somebody's name and you're like, why? This is where you give somebody some kind of, it doesn't have to be goofy. Give them some other kind of, waspy European name. Just don't let them be confused with 18 different other people named Page.
There you go. Well, John Smith, what's up with Madman Fulton? You have called him. He's either the next X Division champion or something. You got in your book over there.
Before they announced the Ultimate X, I thought that Fulton would end up being the next X Division champion because of what happened at the pay-per-view. But that was actually leading up to the announcement of the Ultimate X, which I'm totally fine with. We got Fulton versus Josh Alexander. They put on a good match. I mean, Josh Alexander is probably the most underrated wrestler in all professional wrestling right now. He doesn't put on a bad match with anyone, and he's always going 110%. But he pulled off the win on Fulton, and then Ace Austin attacked him. Everybody else got involved that's in this X Division, this Ultimate X match. And then Shira comes out and clears house on behalf of Rohit Raju. So now we got another heel, big madman. Obviously Madman Fulton, but just big guy just out there. So, I think they'll both get involved in that match at the pay-per-view.
It's pretty unfair, right? Because all they have to do is get their friends on their shoulders and stand up, and they can grab the X, right? Or is it the belt that's going to hang there? I don't know.
That's why you got to have two sets of them, because eventually you could have Shira and Rohit, Madman and Ace, and they can have a chicken fight like they were in a pool, with 12-year-olds.
All right, that's it. Ultimate X pool fight. That's what this should be. Yeah.
They should duct tape the guy on top to the guy on bottom.
Oh, book it, Impact. We know you will. We know you will. Wrestle House 2021. Chicken fights for the X Division Championship. Nice. All right. Well, we have a couple other things. The main story about Impact last week, though, was all about Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan was fired at the last Impact special by Don Callis, and that caused a whole rip-roar of things happening. Scotty D'Amore assured Sami Callihan that he would take care of things, and so an Anthem executive was set to show up at Impact Wrestling this past week, and an executive did show up. It was a member of the Anthem Board of Directors. After Sami Callihan did agree to let Scott D'Amore handle it, Scott and Don talking about things in the ring, out comes Tommy Dreamer. And they have no time for Tommy Dreamer. Callis and D'Amore just want him to leave. They've got things to do. Well, it turns out Tommy Dreamer went not around but above Scott D'Amore, and Tommy Dreamer was, in fact, on the Anthem Board of Directors. And now Sami Callihan is not fired, but Don Callis is fired. So I guess Don Callis is just talent now.
Or maybe he's just Kenny's employee now.
Yeah, exactly. I think his uncle, as I think Don Callis referred to Kenny as his nephew on the show. So an interesting turn of events. I am so interested to find out what Tommy Dreamer does with his newfound power. But we have some matches to pick for this week's Impact. Rolling it from last week, we did have Kojima defeating Rhino, which earned them a tag team match. Now it's going to be Kojima and Eddie Edwards versus Violent by Design. It's actually the team of Cody Deaner and Doring. So, John Smith, I'll go with you first. Who do you think is going to take this match?
I think it would be very Impact for them to win the belts, but I don't see them winning it. I think it stays with Violent by Design.
Yeah, it seems that way. You got to imagine Kojima's probably heading back across the pond here pretty soon. What do you think, John DeConnie?
Yeah, I would have to agree. Once again, it would be very Impact to do the switch here, but it doesn't make a lot of sense as I look at it on paper.
Well, we say that, but we know Finn Juice won those titles for a hot minute. So, put a little doubt in your minds, and, anything can happen. in Impact. Anything. Well, a couple more matches. We got Kiera Hogan versus Rosemary. Kiera Hogan's not won a match all year. Rosemary's 500. John Smith or John DeConnie, what do you think?
I guess, see, Rosemary doesn't have a tag. I wish she had, a pretty definitive partner, because I could see her. I think she's going to win this match, but then is it going to lead to a tag title match? Maybe she can get Havoc back on her side again. Who knows? But give me Rosemary in this match.
John Smith.
Yeah, keep the winless streak alive. Yeah, I'll go with Rosemary. Yeah.
All right, Kiera Hogan. I'm sorry, you do not have a win coming this week based on our.
Well, you know that Al's picking her because she's from Jersey, so she already automatically gets one vote. Kiera,
It's the other one. It's her partner. It's from New Jersey. Kiera's from Atlanta.
Yeah, Tosh is the girl from Newark.
Yeah. So
that's news to me.
Well, John Smith, you brought up Mr. Shera earlier as Rohit's partner. It's going to be Rohit and Shera versus Trey and Pete Williams on the show this week.
Yeah, give me Trey and Petey Williams in this one.
Ooh. John DeConnie, can Petey Williams hit a Canadian destroyer on Shera?
Well, he hit it on Madman Fulton, so I guess he could pretty much do it on anyone on that roster with the right amount of help. But give me Shera and Rohit in this one just because.
You're putting me in a position to break the tie. I'm going to go with Rohit and Shera. I think they're going to try to build some momentum around Rohit winning that X Division or the X Ultimate X.
Yeah.
And we have a non-title match on the show. Knockouts Division, Deonna Purrazzo versus, now I'm showing Su Yung here, but it's actually Susan. So, again, we are in this situation where Deonna's undefeated. Susan hasn't won a match this year. Let me go first to John Smith again. Is Venera Riggs the smartest woman in wrestling? Su Yung is never loses. So if she has to go on a losing streak, she just flips herself into a new character, and that character loses every match. So what do you think?
I think that Susan actually wins this one because it's non-title. And they're working that whole split up between the two of them.
John DeConnie, I don't even know how we got here. What happened?
Just Deonna decided she had enough of Susan and Kimber, and Susan's always got something to say, so she asked for a manager or something like that, and she got herself into this non-title shot. And I agree with Smith. I think that Kimber. Assuming that Kimber isn't going to try and patch things up and be out there going, no, please, Deonna, take us back. I'm hoping that she, is pissed off about the whole thing, just like Susan is, and goes out there and maybe, even if she just picks an ankle once when Deonna's running the ropes and costs her the match and makes her realize, you needed us. We helped build the era of the Virtuosa.
Stop. You guys are picking Susan to beat Deonna. It's not like Father James Mitchell comes out and waves his wand and makes Su Yung come. Su Yung, you're picking Susan.
Yeah, because I want Al Karl's head to explode when he listens to the episode later.
All right, I'm picking Deonna Purrazzo, and if Su Yung makes an appearance, then I would switch it immediately. But I'm picking Deonna for now, and man, I'm shocked that you guys picked Susan to beat Jersey's Deonna Purrazzo. This is cats and dogs sleeping together on this show. I don't understand what's going on. Let's move over to AEW, guys. We have a few things that happened on that show. It's kind of an interesting show this week. We had a cage fight, which is MMA fight, I guess. So let's start right there. John DeConnie, take us through this weird Wardlow and Hager match.
Yeah, it was interesting. The first round, it looked a lot like an MMA fight. They were feeling each other out. There were a couple of leg kicks, a couple of jabs thrown, not a whole lot going on. Second match, it got a little bit, second round, it got a little bit more into looking like the hybrid of wrestling and MMA. There was a couple of throws that would not happen in an MMA, not quite a suplex, but, a throw here and there. And eventually he had gone for it multiple times, and Wardlow had worked his way out of it, but Hager would eventually get that head and arm choke that he uses, and Wardlow didn't tap. He went to sleep, and the referee stoppage happened at 4:13 of the second round. And, I guess we all kind of thought that, that is Hager's realm. He was going to win this one, and it was mostly to set up what came afterwards, which was Sean Spears jumping in and attacking Hager, MJF sneaking in and attacking Jericho, ripping his elbow pad off and locking in Salt of the Earth. He had Jericho tapping, and to the point where Dean Malenko had to come in and save his old bestest pal, because we all know how much those two loved each other back in the WCW days. And then MJF, made the cardinal mistake of, knocking down a 60-year-old man with Parkinson's disease, and, hit him with a forearm to the jaw and took Malenko down, which brought Sammy Guevara in, and MJF wanted nothing to do with that. He bailed and, headed back up the tunnel.
The full representation of human garbage or something is what it's called.
Exactly.
Well, AEW rolled on after that. We had Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky defeating Darby Allin in a handicap match where Darby insisted on he didn't need a partner. Well, he needed a partner and didn't take one. Orange Cassidy got a win over Cesar Bononi, and I said it, he was basically just in action. So that's what I said last week, and that's what kind of turned out. Cody and Brock Anderson got a win over Aaron Solo and QT Marshall. And I'm curious to know, John DeConnie, what you thought of Brock Anderson, because I thought he looked technically sound, not very charismatic, but I thought his work was good.
Yeah, he looks like he has been training. He looks like he can go in the ring. He just has borderline zero charisma at this point, but perhaps that'll come. He's certainly got enough people around him to teach him. I mean, he could learn by osmosis, just in a group hug between Cody and Pops there. So hopefully that will come around. Right now, he's not going to embarrass himself in the ring, and that's pretty much all we can ask for. He's got other people to do the talking for him for now.
And moving on from that, John Smith, I have a question for you. Jim Ross had a very nice sit-down interview with Andrade. It was nothing like the Mankind interview from the 90s. Andrade said he has the AEW and TNT championships on his mind, but him and Vicky have a surprise for us. Any idea what the surprise could be?
I don't know. Maybe he comes out in a lowrider bouncing around like Eddie Guerrero.
Maybe Chavito joins in. I don't know.
That could be it too. Yeah.
John DeConnie, you have any thoughts on this?
If he had been by himself, I'd say, that the surprise was going to be that he'd bring along a manager, because there's, somebody out there who used to manage him, but what him and Vicky have planned, not a clue. I like the idea of Chavo, though. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. He also has friends. Andrade is one of the original members of the original Los Ingobernables when they first founded down there in Mexico. And there's some high-profile talents that were involved in that. They're kind of wrapped up into Ring of Honor contracts right now, but maybe that'll change by the end of the year. He didn't put a timetable on the surprise, so we have to kind of stand by. James Wheeler saying Dynamite's going to rule this Saturday. He can't wait for Jungle Boy versus Kenny Omega, but you're going to have to wait a few more seconds because we haven't made it to that match yet, James. But you're right. That is going to be a fun match. Looking forward to that. Only a couple of matches this weekend, which is very uncharacteristic of AEW not to announce matches early. But Penelope Ford, she got a win over Julia Hart. And she wouldn't release the hold after the match. She just held it and held it and held it until the Varsity Blondes came in, and it reminded me a lot of how Miro and Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley and their matches. But anyway, Miro came out to defend Penelope or whatever, and that sets up a match between Pillman and Miro on June 30th. We'll pick that next week. But John DeConnie, the show closed with Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers taking on Penta, the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian, and Eddie Kingston.
Yep, and as expected, these six put on a hell of a match, and also as expected, it had to end with some ridiculous hijinks. And Jackson, used that freeze spray to blind Penta, and then Karl Anderson hit something. I don't do a very deep dive in his career, but I'd never seen him hit what was described as a super cutter, although it looked more like a neck breaker to me. But he hit a top turnbuckle cutter or neck breaker on Penta and would get the win. And, there you go. The Elite up to their hijinks, incredibly talented, but they can't win a clean match.
Fair point. Well, we're getting into the portion where we have to pick this Saturday's winners. And James Wheeler, we got two matches. I want you to pick them and put them in the chat here for us. So we have Hangman Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs, and then that championship match, Omega versus Jungle Boy. And John Smith, I'll start with you. Hangman Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs going to steal one here.
This is tough just because of Team Taz. They could get involved for Hobbs, but I'm going to go with Hangman Page on this one.
Okay. John DeConnie, Brian Cage of Team Taz stole a win from the Hangman. You think Hobbs has it in him?
Certainly has. He's certainly physically imposing enough, and having Starks by ringside, having Hook at ringside, I could see it happening. And the reason why I think I'm going to go with Hobbs here is because they mentioned last week that Hangman's already back up to number 2 in the rankings. Once again, we're still kind of putting him and Omega, so maybe another small slide down the rankings is what's called for at this time. So I could see it. I don't think it obviously will happen cleanly, but give me Hobbs here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick Adam Page, but I like your argument here because you could have Hobbs get a win here, which sets up the next pay-per-view match between Page and Hobbs. Ricky Starks is not healthy, and he's not going to be healthy, so they can't go there after Hobbs. So, maybe you get a couple matches out of here. Maybe Page gets the first match with Hook. Who knows? James Wheeler, he's in here for Adam Page. So it's 3-on-1, John. Sorry.
Believe me, I won't be upset to be wrong because I am. I'm all about the Hangman. Come on, man.
No points on the line here. So our main event of Saturday's show, which the only other AEW match we have to pick here, is going to be Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy. And they had a cute little segment last week on the show where Kenny tried to entice Jungle Boy into taking a swat at him. And Nakazawa hit Jungle Boy, of course, and then they ran off with the golf cart and all that stuff. They're building the match. But we know what the match is. It's Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy for the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega 6-0, Jungle Boy 10-1. So it's a very, very tight there. But I'll go with you first, John Smith. What are your thoughts on this match? Does Jungle Boy have a chance of becoming a champion and a Jungle Man this Saturday?
There's not even a 0% chance. There's like a -% chance that that Jungle Boy wins this match. That he wins the title. He could win the match by DQ, but I don't see that happening either. I got Kenny winning it after like a 32-star match.
Oh, after John Smith has just crushed the dreams of all the 12 to 25-year-old women, John DeConnie, what say you? Does Jungle Boy have a chance?
I have to concur with Smith on this one. I wish this was further along in this reign of Omega where I could at least spend a couple minutes going like, well, I could see it, because obviously the building would go bat crap crazy for Jungle Boy winning the title here, but it's just I just think it's too soon. I don't see, right now Omega's bulletproof. The worst he'll take is a DQ, which is really not in the playbook of AEW.
And do you think, Smith just said 34 stars, higher or lower than that? You think?
If that's where you're setting the bar, maybe I'll take it slightly under. It's definitely going to be above 20.
Well, I'm going to figure out a way to do that measurement so that we can actually talk about it next week. But
every move that Kenny hits adds a star. So you just got to count the amount of moves he does.
Oh my God. It'll be a lot of stars. Wheeler says if Omega wins, he's certain that Page will dethrone Omega. I think that's where we all stand. I'll tell you what, if we get to Full Gear and we have a Page and Omega match and Omega wins that match, I think we're all shocked, right? I mean, that's what we're all kind of calling right now.
Sure.
Yeah, he's got to lose the other titles first before he loses that title, I think.
Man, and I have it the exact opposite. I think he's got to lose the AEW one first, but we'll see. We'll see. Sami Callihan will be formidable at Slammiversary for Kenny. So,
very true.
And it should be an exploding barbed wire ring of death match because it's those two guys, but they haven't called it as such yet. So, well, we have to get into Hell in a Cell weekend because we had a long weekend of Hell in a Cell matches. We started on Friday. We took Saturday off. We had no Hell in a Cell matches on Saturday, but we got them again on Sunday. And then we had them again on Monday. So Hell in a Cell all over the place. I guess they put the thing up and they just were like, let's not take it down until we have to leave. So there's probably going to be Hell in a Cell matches on every show from here until the Thunderdome ends. I don't know. Anyway, we have just a few matches from SmackDown to talk about. But John Smith, obviously the most important match that occurred on SmackDown last week was a battle for the crown. The King of Strong Style versus the King of the Ring. Who's going to walk out with the crown? How'd it go down?
It went down as was expected by most of us, I think. And, Corbin's King Corbin thing has been, it's run its course. So, it's time to get the crown on somebody else. If somebody's got to be wearing one, maybe, Nakamura ends up, just getting it stolen from him eventually in his next feud by somebody, and it's gone forever. I don't think we need a king out there unless it's they're the actual king of the ring. But I'm just glad that Corbin is finally going to be going back to Baron Corbin, or hopefully that's what the plan is, or maybe there's just going to be Corbin because that's what they do.
That was going to be my follow-up question, and I'll put it down to you, John DeConnie. Is it King Corbin, Baron? Because can you go back from King to a Baron? Is he? I don't know. Is he Michael? Or I don't know what his name is. Is he just Corbin? Is he Sir Corbin? Can you be a Sir after you've been a King? That's a knight. I what's happening here?
I am not well steeped in royalty knowledge of such. I will just say he in all likelihood, a la Matt Riddle, he loses his first name. Let's just call him Corbin. The hell with it,
Corbin. Yeah.
Well, I think Baron is his first name. It's not his title.
I don't know. I don't know. One thing's for sure, his head will be Baron of a crown. So,
I see what you did there.
It took me a few minutes to think that one up. So, Angelo Dawkins was supposed to have a match with Otis. The match never began. But John DeConnie, the match that did begin and then end and then kind of continue again after is the Hell in a Cell match between Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, this one kind of bookended the show. We started the night with Rey in the ring, and even though we already kind of knew it at home, he was there demanding that Roman can give him the answer right now to the fact until Sunday. He wanted the Hell in a Cell match tonight, and Roman had to come out and answer him right there at the top of the show. Roman came out. He, you sure you want to do this, Rey? Are you sure you want to do this? And, it started to almost look like Roman was having a little bit of pity on Rey. And when Rey said, I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Roman turned to Heyman and went, well, we tried it your way. Now we get to do it my way, which you could tell meant bad things later in the evening for Mr. Mysterio. So that was the beginning of the show, and then we go all the way to the main event, and we have Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio inside Hell in a Cell. And I got to be honest, it started out pretty hot and pretty good for Ray. He first, he blasted with a fire extinguisher. He hit him with a toolbox, bounced it off his head. He baseball slid a chair right into his lower spine and sent him reeling on the outside. But eventually he hung the chair around Roman's neck and ran him into the cage. That didn't look all that pleasant. Ray was on a little bit of roll. Not that any of us thought he was walking away with the Universal title, but his hot start lasted longer than I think I would have anticipated. But eventually we went to a commercial break, came back. Roman was very much in control. He blocked a Rana and then used Ray as, a battering ram and slammed him against the cage a half dozen times or so. Ray made another small little comeback because he got his hands on a chair. He used it not only to knock Roman down, then laid it on his chest and hit a frog splash on Roman. But in the end, Roman got it back, got control back, used some random brutality, and then used a new twist on his guillotine, because certainly he wasn't going to jump into the guillotine with Rey Mysterio and put all his body weight on him. He kind of did an inverted standing guillotine right there, choked him out, and then the cage raised. Heyman and Jimmy came in because apparently nobody's seen Jay in a week and a half. But they celebrated with the head of the table for a couple of seconds, and then he decided, you know what? Ray hasn't had enough. Roman picked him back up, put him in the guillotine again, and that's kind of how we ended the show, with Ray kind of dangling and barely conscious.
Well, we'll come back to that scene in a few minutes when we get to Monday Night Raw, but as James Wheeler puts it, another victim claimed by the tribal chief. Down goes Rey Mysterio, the most famous luchador of all time. Now, I was supposed to mention something about the Apollo Crews, Commander Aziz, Nigerian Nail, Kevin Owens, Big E match. John DeConnie, what's the deal with Sami Zayn on commentary?
Oh, he was on commentary, and as we know, Kevin could barely breathe after suffering a Nigerian nail the week before. Well, Sami seemed to be just fine. He also suffered a Nigerian nail. But, he was asked, how are you in such good spirits? And it was, through the miracle of Western medicine that apparently KO did not avail himself to, because he was still suffering.
Okay, well, there you have it. If you happen to encounter a Nigerian nail in the wild, contact Sami Zayn. He knows the remedy for said thing. Do not contact Kevin Owens. Do not contact Kevin Owens. All right, well, speaking of Kevin Owens, John Smith, let's jump into the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I guess before you tell us what happened with Kevin Owens on that show, though, let's take a look at our updated WWE standings. There they are. John Smith still on top in the world of WWE. Al Karl is just a point behind him, followed by me, followed by Travis, followed by John. Gary, I don't know what's happening with you in WWE. 1-5, Gary, at Hell in a Cell. As John Smith wraps the title belt around his shoulder.
That's what I do!
And consulting with our overall standings, John Smith still on top. He has a 2-point lead over Al Karl in the overall standings. 12 points ahead of Travis. A lot of points ahead of me. John DeConnie way back there. Gary further back. And Tyler's barely on the board. And John Smith, he has a perfect pay-per-view for Backlash and Blood and Guts. But Al Karl brought home a heading at Hell in a Cell. So he now has 2. He's tied with John Smith. John, if he keeps getting those perfect pay-per-views, you're going to be in trouble. So hold the belt while you can.
Yeah, Kevin Owens screwed me on this one.
Well, tell us, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. It was a WrestleMania rematch, which means we could have called this WrestleMania Backlash Hell in a Cell. This show.
Yeah, except that it wasn't in the cell, but it was the best match on the card, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this one, these guys have worked together so many times, and it's never bland. It never feels like you've seen it before. They always just give you something new every time, and there's nothing bad I could say about this match. I did not expect Sammy to win this at all. I thought that Sammy attacked him. Kevin had to defend his honor. But, Sammy, I guess the Nigerian nail was part of the reason that KO was able to lose to Sami Zayn clean. But Sammy still gets the clean victory over Kevin Owens. And, Sammy's doing the best work of his career right now, too. So
I think I have to check my records, but I believe this is the first Sami Zayn victory over Kevin Owens in 4 years.
Wow.
One-on-one victory. So Sami Zayn was going into this match with no wins, and he came out with a win for the year. So he's going to turn it around and hopefully gets a bunch of wins, maybe wins a title. Sami Zayn's the kind of guy who can win 2 matches all year but hold a championship. I don't know how he does it. It's a conspiracy, if you will. All right. Well, moving on from the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match, John DeConnie also in the WrestleMania Backlash Hell in a Cell business. We ran back the Seth Rollins and Cesaro match from WrestleMania, and they're tied up now, 1-1.
Yeah, this is the Sammy and Owens match got me too. This one I just saw Seth coming out on top here. And, Rollins wasted no time. He attacked Cesaro during his entrance from behind. And, they danced for about 16 minutes. And these two also have absolutely wonderful in-ring chemistry. And we saw a couple of sharpshooters, but it would be the sharpshooter in the end that did Cesaro in, as he had just taken some time to put a couple of extra spins on the Cesaro swing. So he probably was a little off balance, and he tried the sharpshooter again. Rollins just grabbed his head and tucked it in, rolled him up for the win.
John Smith, was there anybody more surprised that he got a win than Seth Rollins? His eyeballs were this big.
You know what? Once I saw that 3 count, I probably was looking down at my phone because I didn't notice his reaction, to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest Seth fan, if you guys don't know already.
I think Seth lost a lot of fans when he turned heel, which kind of makes sense, but he got the wrong kind of hate. So, and I said hate, not heat, on purpose. So. All right, John DeConnie, I'm going to stick with you, though, because we've got to talk about the opener. The opener is a SmackDown Hell in a Cell match. We thought we were going to have Roman versus Rey on this card, but instead we got Bianca Belair versus Bayley, SmackDown Championship Hell in a Cell match.
Yep, and this was one that I think we all kind of saw the outcome coming, but the way they got there, they went almost 20 minutes, and I'm not a big fan of Bianca. I make no jokes about that. But you can't really say much about what she does in the ring negative. She's incredibly athletic, and Bayley, we know, is almost bulletproof. So the two of them just went wild for 20 minutes. We had Bayley tying her braid to a chair, tying her braid to the ropes. We got a replay of whatever concoction Bayley was trying to do the year before, where she was taping 2 kendo sticks together. She finally got to pull that off this year because she had them pre-taped together under the ring, and all it really was basically a power bomb on them. So we got to see a couple of kendo sticks break. But these two really put on a heck of a show. It was 20 minutes long, and as you might have figured, in the ending it was Bianca with a kiss of death. Only this kiss of death landed on the chair for Bayley, and then a 1-2-3, and Bianca retains the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Let's not undersell the Darth Maul inspired kendo stick, right? Like this is
if she started swinging that around, I'd have been all in for it.
She needed more clearance between the ring and the cage, I think, is the issue there. But Bianca Belair retains. You know who else retained was Rhea Ripley. She retained her championship without winning a match, though. She just grabbed the announce table, not even like a hard part of the announce table. She just grabbed the little top of it and swung it at Charlotte. And the referee, who is the most strict referee in all of WWE, immediately called for the bell. Disqualification. This feud must continue. So we are getting Hell in a Cell backlash at Money in the Bank, as announced. It was announced on Raw the next night. So Charlotte Flair, she wins. She beats Rhea Ripley. She does not take the championship, but John Smith, main event time. Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. If Drew didn't win here, he's not getting any more chances at the WWE Championship. So tell us how it went down.
Yeah, he came out like a ball of fire, grinding Bobby's face into the cage like within the first 10 seconds and, grabbing the steps and hitting him with those a few times. But then it wasn't to be, because after about 25 minutes, Bobby Lashley ends up with his hand raised because, all that brutality, all the kendo sticks, all the steps, everything, it was just not enough for Drew to win it. He just can't get the job done against Bobby Lashley, it seems.
Well, it helps when MVP gets in the cage, and it does a little interference there, too. Drew gives himself a bit of an out there, I guess, but he can't challenge anymore. He cannot challenge anymore. Anything else on Hell in a Cell, guys, before we turn the page here?
Yeah, I think we got it all.
Well, I didn't even put this Hell in a Cell graphic up the whole time, so I'm probably fired. But now we're moving into Monday Night Raw, and my page here that says Hell in a Cell, it now says Money in the Bank, because that was the theme of Raw last night. Sort of. I might have to flip back to that Hell in a Cell page for a second before we're done talking, but John Smith, stick with you. Tell us about the men's Money in the Bank qualifying matches, because there was a handful of them.
Yeah, we got 3 singles matches on the men's side. You got, 3 former WWE champions versus 3 non-WWE former champions. So you got AJ versus Ricochet. Of course, AJ's going to win that match, right?
Absolutely.
No, because the what are they? The Viking Raiders? The War Raiders, I almost call them. It's been like so long, and I still want to call them that. They come out, they attack Omos. AJ gets distracted, and Ricochet gets the win over him. We got Johnny Drip Drip versus Randy Orton. So obviously Randy Orton's winning that one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now, Johnny Drip Drip, with the help of The Miz, squirts the drip stick in Randy Orton's face when he's trying to set up for some move. I forget which one. Maybe it was an RKO. And Johnny hits the Starship Pain after a couple more moves after the distraction for the win. And then you got Riddle versus Drew McIntyre. Of course, Drew's going to win this so he can win back his WWE Championship, right?
Yeah. That's how he's going to get back in the hunt. That's the loophole.
Yeah, exactly. Nah. Nope. Riddle wins this one because, Drew just wasn't up to it after the beating he took the night before. Pretty sure Riddle won this one clean. Am I wrong?
Clean.
Yeah.
Clean.
So, I think this is the whole Randy Orton, Riddle, RK Bro thing is really lighting the fire under Riddle. And, early pick is I think Riddle wins this match or wins this Money in the Bank match.
Is that right? You've got Riddle going all the way in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, because I also like Randy Orton to be challenging Bobby at SummerSlam. So then if Randy Orton somehow beats Bobby Lashley, maybe even with the help of Riddle, then that would be a cool little dynamic. There's still a team, but Riddle's got the briefcase, but he would never cash in on his mentor, Randy Orton. So I think that would be a really cool dynamic if they went that route.
Not only that, Matt Riddle or Riddle, I guess as he's known now, was the guy who took the United States Championship off of Lashley.
This is true.
You got a little bit of history there. And Riddle's very familiar with the Hurt Lock. He is an expert on what that feels like. So,
did you get a black eye from it once?
Perhaps. I'm realizing now that I actually forgot something in Hell in a Cell. But John Smith, as long as you're focused on the screen, we're going to talk about that Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler match real quick. So what I'd like you to do is just look at me.
Again?
All right. Well, sorry about that, John DeConnie, but I just hypnotized John Smith into smacking you around a bit to demonstrate how Alexa Bliss got her win over Shayna Baszler at Hell in a Cell. But John DeConnie, if you have recovered, sticking with Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler, how did the women's side of the Money in the Bank go?
Yeah, so they decided with the ladies to do 2 tag team matches, and then both teammates would make it in. So we got 4 women into the Money in the Bank. So we had Alexa and new butterfly Nikki. Now there was some noteworthy stuff here. Alexa had her own music. You know, she went away from using the Fiend music, so she got her own music. Nikki unveiled her new butterfly gimmick, and the Hurricane and Mighty Molly immediately filed charges of gimmick infringement. Mm-hmm. And Corey now had previously referred to Nikki as a pocket-sized hurricane, but this is not exactly where he was going with that. Well, the match starts between Alexa and Nikki, the former Bliss Cross, now the Psycho and the Butterfly, versus the former women's tag champions Nia and Shayna. We had Alexa hit a destroyer on Shayna that looked like it was going to end the match. Did not. She took some time out to gleam Reggie into almost smacking Nia in the face. But apparently this new butterfly character is a Spanish butterfly, because Nikki would eventually hit La Magistral Cradle on Shayna for the roll-up win in about 10 minutes. And we have our first 2 women in the Money in the Bank match in Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Earlier in the evening, we caught Eva Marie backstage, and she explained how last week she had a cold. So she knew the fans were dying to see her. So she just, she maneuvered things around. And that's, why she brought her protege along with her, who we now found out, because no one knew who she was last week. We now find out her name is Dewdrop.
What?
Dewdrop did not seem to be thrilled with that. Eva Marie seemed to have been having a brain fart and couldn't remember her name, but she settled on Dewdrop, so now clearly she's Dewdrop for all of eternity. So those 2 would team together this week against 2 former champions, Asuka and Naomi. Eva Marie would start the match. Finally, Karl can breathe again. Eva Marie is going to have some in-ring action.
Or can he breathe?
Yeah. But not so fast. Before they would even go to the collar and elbow, Eva tagged herself out, and Dewdrop came in. Dewdrop did all of the heavy lifting. She held her own very well against Asuka and Naomi, and may have even been getting ready to hit some kind of finisher, because she was up on the second buckle looking to, get some air. And that's when Eva Marie decided to tag herself in. She gets in. She fails to get the pin. And when she immediately wanted nothing to do with what was going on in the ring anymore, she went back to Dewdrop, who had now hopped off the apron the same way Eva Marie had done earlier in the match, and just kind of waved to her from the floor. And Naomi would hit the classic Raw roll-up on Eva. And it was I've probably talked about it for longer than the match was. It was a sub 3-minute match, but now we have 2 more women in the Money in the Bank match, and those 2 are Asuka and Naomi, 2 former champions.
So we got Asuka, Naomi, Nikki Cross, and Alexa Bliss. And just imagine, guys, real name, Kimberly Benson. I believe that's her real name. had a ring name of Viper before she came to WWE. But of course, you can't bring that name into WWE because, you got Randy Orton. So you can't be the Viper. So, okay, well, Piper Niven, that's a pretty good name. I'll go with that. No, yeah, you had a good run with that, but we're going to just strip that away. Now you're going to be Dewdrop. How might Kimberly Benson feel, you think? I went from Viper to Dewdrop.
Well, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen for very long because, they're already setting up the split between her and Eva Marie the second week. So it looks like she'll end up going back to her Piper name.
Yes.
Maybe it'll just be one word, though.
I think we're all hoping that they do drop that name. So
that's a dad joke.
I'm not a dad, John. You would know.
I am a dad. That's why I laughed so hard at it.
Well, Hell in a Cell weekend is not over because before we finish, before they take the cage down, we have to have just one more match, and it stems from the New Day getting a title match at the next pay-per-view, John Smith.
Oh, yes. Wait, what do we talk about here? The Hell in a Cell match?
Cell match.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Honestly, this wasn't that great of a match, in my opinion. I don't think that that Xavier Woods belongs in a match like this yet. I don't think that it was believable for this to even be happening. I don't know why we needed to have another Hell in a Cell match after we already had seen 3 of them. Usually we get 1 a year, maybe 2. And they're both on the Hell in a Cell card, maybe 1 on WrestleMania. Now we got 4 of them, 1 on SmackDown, 1 on Raw. And it was almost like the 1 on Raw happened just because USA was butthurt that Fox got a Hell in a Cell match and they didn't.
Pretty much.
That might be what it was. But because of that, we ended Raw the same way we ended SmackDown. Big heel champion holding on to a submission move while the show goes off the air. So we should already know how NXT is going to end tonight.
Yeah.
Although I don't think they have the cell hanging over the ring in the Capitol Wrestling Center. But we have a couple of matches set up for Monday Night Raw next week. I mentioned that AEW uncharacteristically only has 2 matches advertised for Saturday. Well, Monday Night Raw uncharacteristically has 2 matches scheduled for Raw next week, which is crazy. The first one, John Smith, is Elias versus Riker in a strap match. Now, this is all coming about because Elias keeps running away from the match. So Riker figures we'll get a strap and we'll put it between us and he can't run away anymore. But I think that Elias will still find a way to get counted out. What say you?
Yeah, I think Vince really has a thing for Riker right now, so I think he's going to go over in this match unless they're bringing in a third person to help Elias, and Elias has another new muscle for him. But
are you like a roadie, you mean, or something? John DeConnie, we've been brainstorming some ways that Elias could get away from this, even with the strap match.
Yeah. I've put in my my vote for sharpened guitar pick in the pocket. He pulls out and slices the strap in half so he can run off to the back once again and walk with himself.
I never thought that with the Forgotten Sons, Cutler, Blake, and Riker, I never thought for a second Riker would be the last man standing in WWE. The man never had a match when they were together. But now he is, like John Smith said, I think he has got a rocket strapped to him as best as you can get a rocket strapped to you.
When he was with the Forgotten Sons in NXT, he was like, he was above the other two. He was kind of like the guy on the outside that, okay, you don't want him to get involved. Well, you were happy with Blake and Cutler getting involved only. So it seemed like they were building up when he was in NXT for him to be some sort of star there, and then he got plucked onto the main roster too early.
Yep. Well, So I didn't even put it up, but there's the graphic. We also, we made our picks, and we all kind of. John DeConnie, did you actually register a pick or just a method of escape?
Yeah, well, I only registered the method of escape. So if Elias doesn't manage to get the strap off of his wrist and get out of there, then give me Riker beating the holy hell out of him and beating him.
Gotcha. Well, it was interesting. Elias last year, he was undefeated this time last year. Not the case this year. He's 1-8 this year. So I will pick Riker in this match as well. But we do have the last chance Money in the Bank qualifier for our former WWE champions that John Smith talked about earlier. Drew versus AJ versus Randy. These guys have the most abysmal records for guys of this stature. Randy Orton, 4-9. He's got a horrible record. So John Smith, it's the second chance. I keep saying gauntlet, but it's just a triple threat. Who is going to Money in the Bank?
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with AJ Styles on this one. Yeah.
You don't think it's going to be Viking Raiders versus Styles and Omos?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. This is hard. It could. Yeah. Maybe they make AJ pull double duty.
What do you think? What do you say, John DeConnie? Who wins the triple threat match?
This one is so tough because, there's a great story to be made for any of them. Like, I'd love to see Drew win it and then not exactly swerve us all, but, we all think, oh, this is his excuse to get back at Bobby. But no, he takes it over and challenges Roman. I loved what John Smith was talking about before with possibly Orton working his way into the match. And then you got that whole RK Bro thing, the two of them going against each other right there. And yet I feel like if you're having a ladder match, you're cheating us, the fans, if AJ Styles is not in it. And, of course, I'm all for AJ Styles having a, imminent at the world title at any time. But gun to my head, I think just because I think Randy Orton, just because they are having a lot of fun with the RK Bro storyline and just how incredible it's going to be when it blows up.
All right, and I'll pick Drew McIntyre. So we have one person for each person. We'll see how it goes next week, and we'll have bragging rights. One of us will, unless we have a no contest or something. That would be weird.
Imagine.
We saw a multi-person no contest recently on the other channel, so it could happen.
Yep.
But, okay, so John Smith earlier, he registered his early pick for the Money in the Bank as Matt Riddle. Right. So who say you? Who do you think your early pick is, knowing what you know today?
Yeah, so far I really like that. But I think I actually picked Riddle last year. So, me going back into that one would not be it's got to be a face. You got two monster heels. So it's got to be a face. At this point, who better than that goofball?
The match is really shaping up. I like that we have Ricochet and John Morrison in this match. And if you add that AJ Styles, like John Smith's John Smith predicted, that's a heck of a match, with those guys in there in the ladder match. Now, Smith, on the women's side, you didn't get to register your early pick there, but you've got some very interesting personalities. You've got the Glow. You've got the Kabuki Warrior. You've got a superhero. And you got whatever demon Alexa Bliss is. So you got all kinds of a whole range of characters over there. And that's not even getting to SmackDown yet.
Yeah, out of those four, because I'm assuming it's going to be 8 men and then 8 women, because that's usually what they do. Sometimes it's 10. The one time they did 10, but other than that, it's always been 8 or less. So I'm going to say that Alexa's really the only one that's got a chance to win it, because Asuka won it last year. I don't think they're gonna go 2 in a row with her. Naomi, I just don't like. I think her time has passed at this point, and Nikki is not there yet. So I'm gonna say I think the winner comes from SmackDown. And yeah, Alexa's really the only one that's plausible to win this match, but I don't think they go that route.
Your former winners are Carmella, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, and Asuka, and all of them became champion after winning Money in the Bank. John DeConnie, Any thoughts on this this women's match? Are we going to see somebody win it twice, Asuka or Bliss, or does it come from SmackDown?
I think of the people we see right now, like John said, I think Alexa Bliss with the briefcase should be highly entertaining and terrifying for the champions. Something still tells me maybe Sasha comes back and wins it, but of the 4 we've got in front of us right now, I would think Alexa is the favorite. There's too much fun to be had there with her.
I'm going all out. I'm picking Nikki Cross. I'm behind her, this new character. Super Nikki, Mighty Molly Nikki, her Kane, whatever you want to call her. Karl says it's going to be Jimmy Uso for the men, Eva Marie for the women. Sorry, bud. I think, Al, you're supposed to be busy. You are supposed to be busy. You got to fudge the whale cake because you're a great dad, and now you're chiming in on the show. All right, guys. Any other interesting predictions for Money in the Bank? Any thoughts on who's going to make it from the SmackDown side? That'll probably be tomorrow or Thursday, Friday, whatever the day SmackDown is on this week.
I haven't put much thought into it, to be honest with you, because I wasn't even thinking Money in the Bank until last night when they brought it up on us. So, maybe I'll have something better for you next week, or maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll give it some thought and I'll leave tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I want you to tell me what NXT guy you want to see in the match.
Okay,
long shot.
Nice.
John DeConnie, any thought from you?
As far as I really haven't even thought about the SmackDown side of the roster, but I will bring this up that remember last night we did have a segment in the back with Cedric, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, and Jinder all bitching and moaning about why they weren't involved. And Sonya said, sorry, but, the matches are locked. The participants are who they are. And Jinder, at the end said, okay, but you just, keep me in mind should something happen to one of the participants. So I think, whoever winds up being the 4, what do we have now? We have Ricochet, Morrison, Riddle, and then, the winner of the triple threat next week. I think there's a decent chance one of them doesn't make it.
We got a scratch coming up. Mm-hmm.
Could be.
Right.
They planted the seed.
Well, that is pretty much everything we have going on tonight, but we've got some more things to tell you about before we get out of here, so let me get started on that. We're going to start with the Prime Time Rundown. Now, the graphic is not correct. It's Mondays at 7. Join Joey Jarzenka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca on Monday nights now for the Prime Time Rundown. They'll take you through the world of sports, and the show starts at 7 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. And then the Daily Wrestling News Show. That's the show that I host each and every morning, Monday through Thursday. We sort through the bullshit in wrestling news to bring you the truth on that show, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Hopefully I don't get kicked off the airways for saying bullshit. And subscribe to the Body Slam Brigade newsletter. We have a brand new format, super easy to read. Over 4,000 people get it each Friday. You can go to bodyslambrigade.com right now to sign up, subscribe, and don't miss a thing in the world of wrestling news. And then, of course, everybody likes free cake. Everybody likes free cake, or even if you have to pay for it, people like that too. But this album from the Black Cats NYC is called Free Cake, and you can get it at anywhere you get music: Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Deezer, Amazon Music, and probably some music services you've never heard of. I think that's definitely the case. And then Pro Wrestling Pick'em. We've referred to countless times our standings, and that this show is sponsored by Pro Wrestling Pick'em. It's a place where you can create or host a Pick'em league to test your predictive skills in the world of pro wrestling. Create an account and join the league now at ProWrestlingPick'em.com so you can play against your friends. Or John DeConnie, get ready, play against the universe. And guys, she'll like it too. And of course, this show, the Essential Wrestling Podcast, we're here every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Get your updates and highlights in the world of wrestling. Find out who we think will win the week's matches. And I promise that Karl will be back next week, so you don't have to endure another week of my musings. John Smith, anything before we get out of here tonight?
Just hoping. I'm looking forward to the diamond mine, and I'm hoping that it's not a repackage of somebody that we're not interested in.
I think we're probably going to see somebody we know. I just don't know who it's going to be. John DeConnie.
Yeah, looking forward to O'Reilly and Kushida tonight, and
that's the thing on.
Go
ahead.
All right, sir. Taking us home. Thanks for joining us, and as always, we wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Join us.